The world is a funny place. Things are changing from moment to moment. And most of us don't have a choice but to adjust and figure out how to continue. AI coming in is one of those kinds of changes which is sort of shaking our world up or changing things in a big way. But it's not something that's something we can pretend or just hope that it'll go away, pretend that it's not there, or hope that it'll go away, kind of keep protesting against it. I mean, the fact is, it is going to be implemented. There's regulations that are needed that people who understand the space talk about. But as a lay person, as a regular person, I mean, on some level, we need to learn to use it in ways that are relevant to us. It is very accessible. You've got AI within WhatsApp to test out image and what text can do. You can you've got ChatGPT and whatever the 10,000 other variations runway for video, and you got audio. You can generate music, you can generate sounds of things, create compositions. You can essentially create much more than you were able to maybe some years ago. Technology's changed to enable a lot more creation a lot faster. You can There are different processes, like in video games there's something called procedural generation, where computers, based on some rules, it's and some math under the hood, there's computer can create objects, it can create a level which players can play through, it can create layouts of how different kinds of resources and rewards will be distributed around the level, how the challenges could be distributed around. Procedural generation helps essentially create something sort of a little more virtual, a little more flexible than the normal construction of 3D models, or it's kind of like the difference between raster and vector in, say, Photoshop or Illustrator or any of those kind of image editing tools, where when you're kind of painting with the raster, with the paintbrush. Um, it's kind of permanent in a sense. You can erase it and things, but you can't edit the strokes. Whereas in a vector, anything you're creating, you can further manipulate the points that are actually creating that shape. So you can change the curves between the lines and stretch the shape out, shrink it, change it in different ways. And it's still very light on the computer. So that's sort of similar kind of a thing which procedural generation can do in video games and 3D worlds, virtual worlds. It lets you potentially create huge worlds which are able to appear and disappear very quickly. The other advantage of things like procedural generation, um, or more broadly non-destructive methods, there are others as well, but it basically leaves you with the flexibility to make changes. Concept artists in video games and film, sci-fi films especially, uh, they're generating ideas really fast for directors on the film or creative directors and the people heading the project on a video game. Um, they need to keep adjusting what they're making based on feedback, so they end up doing stuff which they can make variations of really fast, or they can make edits really fast. So they'll set up little systems which they call non-destructible. Basically, they can make changes too quickly. It's not a sort of permanent change where you have to build something from scratch or rework quite a bit of it. So, coming back to the idea of working with let's say more efficient processes, efficient tools which can make our life simpler in some senses. There's limitations that most tools bring with them, a certain kind of way in which they can be used, and you may use them for that particular use. So you may use them because they have an advantage of, say, the speed, which may save you time. It may allow you to iterate on ideas, try out various different kinds of things. In today's times, in video games and advertisements and various different kinds of media, when advertising on the internet, there's a lot of what you call marketing tests, where you generate, say, a few kinds of images or a few kinds of videos around the subject that you are intending to build. Maybe if you have a small playable, you may build something around that and make it feel closer to what you envision the final product to be. But essentially, you'll put these small uh, teasers, in a sense, out there, and you'll see whether people are finding them interesting. And that gives you a chance to take a bit of a guess and see whether people are interested in what you're making, at least the people you're able to reach. You may do that off YouTube, Instagram, organically through hashtags and the kind of content and the people, the audience you're targeting, and trying to create the kind of content that they are looking for. You could do that by looking up popular content creators of a similar category, and you can see what the videos of theirs that are the most popular. If there are any common topics, then that's a good place to start. You can also um, go through a lot of seasoned content creators. Um, there are talks, interviews where they share their insights. They may be discussing it with other content creators to kind of share that knowledge with other people. Say on the Nikhil Kamath podcast, the WTF thing, there's uh, an episode called How to Build Influence. Um, some really great pointers there. uh, a lot of talks, a lot of conferences, people who have been working in the field who've been successful are called on to kind of share their story, how they've managed, and that's like a great place to learn a little faster. And while it is unrealistic to expect anything to happen super fast, and if you're doing your own thing, if you're taking on the entrepreneurial journey, if you're following your passion, it's a longish road to get things even comfortable enough for you to sustain yourself while, let's say, pursuing your passion. the the main the main thing that ensures that you are progressing is to keep taking a step further in the direction which you're wanting to go in. So if you have a clear intention that this is where I want to head, you can take the steps in those directions, in that direction. And the point is not to be comparing how far you are from that place, but actually seeing how far you've progressed from where you started. And that can be an incredibly simple way of feeling a little bit of a recharge of your willpower, the boost to keep going and continue to the next milestone. So it's really important to acknowledge these small wins. But coming back to AI and the challenges and advantages that it brings, I mean, there's challenges in the sense of the way that we are experiencing the media is going to change drastically. I mean, there's a lot more that people can create a lot faster. We've had Instagram giving us photographs that can look quite good quite fast, and so we've got a lot more photographs and images that are out there. We've got a lot more exploration of how images can be used as a result, which is great. But there's also a lot of noise that you have to sort of filter through. Similarly, when you search for something now, as time goes by, it's likely that you'll find a lot of AI generated images appearing, which may be a little confusing to tell whether something you searched for actually exists or it's just been constructed um, like by AI and it just looks super real. You may not be able to tell the difference. This can be problematic when we're dealing with things that people consider are facts, whether that's about political situations in the world, whether that's uh, on ground challenges people are facing, or any life depictions. depicting people from real life in a way that is not true and can potentially be problematic, essentially, whether that's using that kind of image to create uh, tension, worry in someone's for someone, to maybe charge them up emotionally, to get them to react in a certain way. All these kind of tricks people anyway do. There's so many scams and things that exist. People are calling you up, sending you messages, trying to get you to click on links, telling you won something. There's so many different ways in which people are trying to, let's say, make money quickly, but at the cost of somebody else. And that's just the way life is in some sense. That's the way we are as human beings. There is that potential to be kind of selfish at to the extent that you're willing to harm someone else to get what you want. Um, we can all go there at some point in our life. We all have the potential to be that, but we also have the potential to be someone who's a lot more grounded, someone who's a lot more compassionate, who is empathetic to other people's challenges, understanding their situation and circumstances in a more holistic way. And that brings a certain level of wisdom where, because of the empathy you are showing, you're able to see so much more depth and interconnection, which gives you a much deeper insight and gives you a sense of how to really handle that situation in a more holistically relevant way. Somebody may be in a situation where they are saying something that is incorrect, let's say factually, but they're very like charged up emotionally because of something that may have happened to them personally, and so they feel very strongly about the subject. It may be hard to change their opinion at that point of time, or help them even see a logical alternative to the picture that they have in their head. And at that point, if you are able to understand that sort of bigger, larger context of theirs, maybe you will acknowledge what they are feeling, help them calm down, and introduce them to that logic at a time where they are also receptive to it, where they are willing to listen, where they have that space, the head space to do that, um, and be open to this kind of alternative perspective you're offering. Because when you're trying to change someone's mind about something, it's I mean, you're already like, it's an uphill sort of a journey, because what they see as this is how the world works, or this is how this aspect of the truth is, whatever the truth is to them, their perception of the truth, that is it. I mean, that is the truth. Now you're trying to, depending on the seriousness of it, of the subject matter, or how close it is to their heart, it may be harder or easier to change their mind, or may, maybe make them open to acknowledging another perspective. But if you would like them to see another perspective, you need to work through various different things which maybe helping them feel something they can relate to, something they can connect to, um, with what you are saying, bring them to that in a way which is more relatable for them. Um, whether that's something, whether it's could be a story of something that could be relevant to someone like them, or someone they know, and by association they may build a sense of empathy and may want to associate and listen to your story a little deeper. So it's important to understand people and their circumstances in a slightly more holistic sense. Um, AI has an interesting way to kind of explore who we are, what our interests are on a certain level, testing it out in small ways. Um, just with, say, the text based um, AI, the video and the image based and the audio based, there's already quite a bit of stuff which you can explore, various different kinds of content creation, different kinds of subject matter you can browse through really quickly. You can create rough ideas, many of them super fast. Um, Obviously, refine them, edit them. And as you're using any of these AI tools, the more you're using it, the more you understand how it's working, what are its limitations, where you need to tweak it, where you need to give it more context, what's working, what's not. And you can play around with it and sort of understand it better. Um, and depending on what your field is, you can use it for various different kinds of things. It's typically great with doing or processing the kind of data it's familiar with, whatever it has been trained on, meaning the kind of what is the data it's been given to study and use, look at patterns and say, okay, this is how, let's say, language is functioning, this is how English is spoken. When spoken casually, this is how English is written formally. Those variations, they could, let's say you give uh, an AI model 10,000 formal letters, it gets a sense, it can go through that, study that, and get a sense of a pattern of what formal letters seem to look like. And like I was talking about procedural generation in video games earlier, the in AI, it's kind of like procedural generation in a sense where you're um, constructing something really fast with just a very small input, and it can be quite detailed. Right now, we're able to build 2D, we're able to not as accessibly but translate it, the technology is out there to translate images into 3D. So actually being able to create spaces or recreate spaces really fast, that's something that AI is going to be able to bring. So apart from just the 2D content, or the text content we have, not too far away, the opportunity for 3D spaces being generated, in more interactive worlds, interactive spaces. A lot of different platforms are emerging where you can do these kinds of things. User generated content platforms are what they refer to, which basically means that users are creating the content which is being consumed by other users. So the demand and supply of content is taken care of by essentially the people who are on the platform. And some platforms like YouTube have evolved over time, and they've kind of learned on seen certain patterns of their users, adapted certain things, and felt like certain things are important and given those things priority at certain points of time, and they're constantly evolving. But in their long journey, we've got a sense of how user generated content platform can evolve, and that learning also gives us a sense of being able to sort of speed up the process. I mean, there are platforms that have come after that which have scaled faster, built faster, so maybe change things around. Say TikTok as an example of a subset of something like YouTube, which is a video content social platform where you spend your time watching different kinds of content, and if you are so inclined, you're creating content. So inclined, you may be aspiring to, you may have seen content which you relate to, which you feel you could create. And with AI now, that is actually more true. You can create content that is of much better quality, at least visually, in terms of sound as well. You can test a lot of ideas, but at the core of it is really what you are bringing, your uniqueness, your perspective that is interesting to other people, for them to experience life through somebody else's experiences, which they can relate to, they associate with certain things, they feel certain things that may be common or just very human. Uh, but what you're able to get your audience, your participants, your visitors to feel, whether that's a video, whether that's a blog post, whether that's a VR chat, hangout space, or a video game, there are certain kinds of emotions that the content you're creating can create. It can have that kind of impact on the people who are engaging with your content. To be intentional or to try and understand how what content is impacting the reception, how people are associating, connecting, reacting to how they're feeling about the content you're creating. Being intentional about that is something which can help you move a little more strategically, which essentially means that you are choosing the options which are likely to have the best outcome fastest, or get you to the best outcome fastest, even if that means testing specific things and learning that those are not the areas that are working for you, and knowing that, rather than wandering about and wondering which wandering through a forest and wondering which herb it is that you need to collect to cure yourself from the snake bite or whatever it is that you're looking for these magical herbs for. Some of them are poisonous, some of them are, they don't have the functionality you're looking for. But you may need a certain specific kind of herb that's available in a certain part of the forest, or grows in certain kinds of areas. But you may start off by saying, I have this need to resolve my problem, uh, with some research, with feedback interactions with people who've spent time in the industry that you're looking into. You can understand from them what those herbs look like, maybe where or what kind of areas you're likely to find them in the forest. Um, are they some special kind of mushrooms that grow in some dark, moist place, and you need to find those kind of particular areas and ideally know what exactly that mushroom is kind of looking like, um, and what kind of effect it's going to have, whether there are similar kinds out there that you might get confused by and you should not get distracted by. Um, a lot of pursuing the entrepreneurial journey is, or pursuing your passion essentially, is about being able to come back to that path, and you're looking in a direction which you feel is the most relevant direction to move in. And that can change along the way. You may have certain learnings, life may bring certain circumstances which just force you to change, or help you realize certain things which advise change. They may be, I mean, if you're able to look for what is the positive, what is the learning, what is the potential learning, potential growth from any challenge that you're facing, I think you can take it on with a lot less stress, a lot less cribbing about it, um, or just feeling bad, I guess. You don't feel as bad for yourself if you see the challenge as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to learn something, as an opportunity to strengthen a certain kind of muscle. Um, and I think it's really that fear that holds us back, the thought that we are not capable of producing an outcome that is satisfactory to us. Now, I'm not sure whether it's because we're used to seeing people showcasing their lives to be some kind of fantastic holiday or fancy life, luxurious kind of aspirations that they're creating, and in comparisons our lives look super boring and super basic, um, and that's kind of frustrating. uh, w- what